Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Infinite Abilities Podcast. I am your host, Nick Yerhart, and we are here to encourage each other to find our own unique abilities. Let's go. All right, everyone. So today on the Infinite Abilities Podcast, we have Andrea. And I know this is going to be a great conversation. And you will see us doing a live within the next week, I believe. So, which will be before the podcast is out, but you can go back because I'm sure we're going to do more than one. So, Andrea, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you, Nick. And I am actually really excited about our next live. So my name is Andrea Fung. I hail from the land of Malaysia. I now live in Australia. I am a quantum performance strategist and I work with, visionary leading corporate professionals and help them shift from energetic burnout into embodied peak performance following quantum healing and identity upgrades.
I love that. And your title, I'm not going to try to say that because I would probably mess it all up.
It is a little bit long, but I was trying to think about, I've been trying to think about how I can get a title that captures more of the essence that what I do and yet also speaks to the language of my ideal clients. And
Exactly.
so that was what came up.
I love it, and it does. It just speaks to the high performers, to the business owners and people like that. So I think
Yes.
it's really great.
Oh, thank you, Nick.
Yeah,
I'm still settling into that title because this title recently came up like maybe 3 days ago. So I'm still allowing it to settle in after all
yeah.
the discerning and all the thinking. And it's just like, okay, you know what? This is the one that captures it the most. It feels right in my heart. It feels right in my stomach. It feels right everywhere. So this is the one.
Yeah, and before we go, sorry, you told me that you're rebranding. And
Yes.
I would like to just kind of touch on that because I think it's important for other entrepreneurs to understand that sometimes as your business grows, you do need to take a step back and look at what you're doing and look at your brand, your messaging, who your ideal client is, and structure around your ideal client. So do you want to go a little more into detail on like what made you want to rebrand and what are some of the things that you're doing as you're rebranding?
Well, the rebrand actually came about when these past 4 months, because I think I would have mentioned to you earlier that I was restarting my business from, restarting my business from a more empowered place with a lot more clarity about what kind of frequency or the kind of work that I'm here to do. So prior to that, I had gone from a productivity or social media influencer to digital nomad coach to mindset coach to and then narrowing it down to productivity because I'm really big on productivity. And then I went through, multiple little mini spiritual awakenings. And then I labeled myself as an ascension mentor because that was what it is that I love to do at the time. But then now, and then I let go of my business. But then now coming back, I realized I came to realize on a deeper level, I want to speak to the lawyer of 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And for me to speak to her, she would not understand what an ascension mentor is. She wouldn't even know what a transformational coach is, if I'm being absolutely honest. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if someone said to her, "Oh yeah, Andrea, I want you to go and work with this transformational coach," I was like, "What's that?" Like, is
Yep.
I only know soccer coaches, people like that. And so I want to work with people like that. And she was such an efficient, productive person. But to speak to that person, I have to use language that she understands. But at
Yeah.
the same time, provide her with everything that I know now. I am who I am now because of all the spiritual work that I do, the quantum healing that I do, but she's not going to get that. So how can I bring what I bring and give them what it is that they actually want and what they need without fully understanding or feeling safe about what they actually want and what they need yet in a way that they understand. And so this is the point of the rebrand. Because the more you grow, sorry, just one more thing, the more you grow, right? The more you know what you want, the more you're able to show more of who you are, but in a way that is a bit more understandable to your ideal client. That's part of the rebrand.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I went through a coaching thing. It had like what I've been and whatnot, but one of the things is it tells you how to speak to your ideal client and
Mm.
how important it is to get your messaging right, to
Yes.
meet them, like you're saying, where you were 4 years ago. But that's how you should be speaking to them so they understand what you do, and the coach that I had at the time, he's like, just whenever you're, putting a post up or reaching out to someone, like, understand that, like, if you were to call your sister and say, hey, I'm experiencing this problem, have it so they understand. Like, you're not gonna say, I, experiencing burnout. Nobody really says that. Like, we all know what burnout is. We can identify it, but that's not the language we use.
Mm.
Instead, we use, I'm exhausted. I'm not motivated. I feel like crap. Like, that's the language that we use. So it's good to recognize your language that you're using to speak to your ideal client so then they connect with you.
Yes. Yes. Oh, that's absolutely powerful. Really, really powerful. Thank you for sharing that, Nick.
Yeah. And then what got you, to where you're at now? Because I know 4 years ago your life was completely different.
Oh, I think that was probably the beginning. That was probably like maybe the first or second awakening, I suppose. At that point, I was working as a lawyer, I had a really great job. I loved my boss, great working environment. I had a great social life. Everything was really great, to be honest. And what I didn't realize was how I think I tried to create my life in a way that to make me so happy so that I didn't have to deal with this rising, creeping dread.
Yep. Yep.
I'm sure you have plenty of stories like that too.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Okay, so after I share mine, I want you to share yours. So
Okay.
it was this rising, creeping dread of like, man, if I don't get this, then I don't know where else to turn. I don't know what else to do to fix it. But then lo and behold, the pandemic happened. Business got slow. I couldn't see my friends. I couldn't go out. I couldn't party. I couldn't do all the things that balanced me out. And so I was just sitting at home in front of my laptop doing this work that I had deluded myself into thinking was so fulfilling. So much, because on the outside it looked great.
Hmm.
But then I couldn't ignore it anymore. And then I thought, I can't do this. It's time to address it. I literally cannot escape it. So
Because something was missing.
something was missing. So much was missing. But normally, the thing is that normally when people share stories like that, it's always like, I really didn't want to do this, but I know that I wanted to do X. And now I can't ignore it anymore. And I feel like I have to go do X, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And which makes it easier because you already have a destination. But for me, it was like, I don't know what I'm meant to do. I don't know what is the X, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? And it's
Hmm.
really, really scary coming from a legal background because lawyers don't do vulnerability. We don't do emotions. We don't do weakness. We don't do uncertainty. Also, we are very, very risk averse. We have to know the answer before we do anything. That's just how
I'm laughing because I know a lot of lawyers, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
there we
Yep.
go.
Yep.
So so in the end to venture out, and I bring this context because I want to explain how significant of a step that was to just say, I can't stay here anymore. I can't stay in certainty anymore. I have to venture into literally the great unknown and give it a go, knowing
Hmm.
zero answers. So step by step through following the breadcrumbs, following only what brought me joy at any given moment, it opened my world to it opened it opened me to a world of infinite possibilities. It opened me to a world that I could have never known, never dreamt of, a world that I could have never manifested, never researched because I didn't even know that it existed, like personal development. I didn't know that this was a thing.
Yeah.
Like quantum healing, energy work, like what is that? I don't know. I can't research that. But through following, yeah, following my joy, one by one, the steps were presented to me, one step at a time, one step at a time. And now looking back, I can see how all the dots connected, how my sacred purpose unearthed, and the journey, the journey, even though I said that it was so uncertain, it was actually incredibly certain. I was just looking at the wrong markers instead of looking at, focusing on the destination that I think that my mind has projected for me. I needed to just focus on the step right in front of me and let my joy be the anchoring certainty in that entire journey. So that's how I got to where I
I
am
love that.
today.
Yeah. And I went through, something but like that where I had worked in the same industry since I was 14 years old. Was waste removal. I actually still do it at part time.
Yes.
So I've been doing this a long time, and I had worked for my dad from 2009 until 2019 at
10
his,
years.
yeah, 10 years at his waste removal company. So I went through. I started at the bottom. I worked my way all the way up to the lead supervisor, and
Oh,
everything was great. I had a team that I managed. I was basically the decision maker, especially towards the end of it, because my dad did get sick with brain cancer, and late 2019 he lost his battle.
I'm
So
so sorry to hear that.
mm, thank you, and that's what really started everything, because
Mm,
that was like, okay, we sold the company like right before he passed. We all sat down as a family, decided the best thing to do was just to sell it than to try to keep it going without him.
mm,
So we sold it. Now, I had been there for 10 years. All the plans were lined up for me to take it over and me run the company after he
yeah.
retired. Well, that just went out the window.
Mm,
So that was kind of what started everything. I took 3 months and didn't work at all. And then I ended up getting another job for a another waste removal company, which was awesome. And I worked there for a while, but I felt like something was missing. And at first, I was like, "Well, that's obvious. My dad's gone, our business is gone, our employees are gone. Like our whole family kind of just got blown up."
mm,
But then, like, I kept. It's like, okay, something else is missing, and it's kind of like I felt like I had this urge to do something for myself. And I worked for that company for 3 years, and then they sold, and I had to go work for the company that bought the company.
yes.
So that was like the final straw. I was like, all right, enough's enough. I can't rely on somebody else for my life, my income and all that. I need to do something for myself.
Yes.
So that's kind of how it got started. I started looking into real estate because I love real estate, and I was like, all right, I'll start a real estate business. Well, then I found Rob Dial. He has a podcast called The Mindset Mentor, and that podcast is what really changed everything for me, because
Yeah.
that's when I got introduced to self development, and I started going down that journey of improving myself. And it's kind of like a lot of what you said. You don't know what you don't know. And I had no idea that this world existed. And I was like, I can really help people.
Mm,
And I ended up getting a coach, and he said the same thing. He's like, I think you should be a coach yourself because you have so many things that you've gone through in your life and you figured out how to overcome them, that you can help so many people overcome their challenges and improve their life. And that's basically what started out. I went head first into there, and here I am today. I'm a certified business coach. I'm a life coach. I'm a podcast coach. And we just help people improve the quality of their life wherever they're at in their life, because I meet my clients where they're at. That's why I do have a lot of different services, a lot of different packages, a lot of different price points,
Mm.
and that's because I want to meet where I was, the person that I was 4 or 5 years ago. I want that person to be able to work with me so I can guide them to get them to the next level in their life.
My gosh, Nick. Like I love how there are like a few parallels and similarities in our stories. And I
Yeah,
love just how powerful your journey has been. And actually I wanted to ask when as you were talking, the thing that came up, because I know there was a lot of grief involved. And I think the thing that not many people talk about is like the grief from the passing of someone is one thing, whether it's a loved one or a friend or something, and that's really, really harsh. But then I think not many people talk about the grief of the death of an identity either,
yeah,
right? You know, because you were operating and working in one way, and
uh-huh,
then life happened, and
yeah.
then you had to start operating and working in another way, and then in
Uh-huh.
another way, and then in another way. So how did you deal with those moments of grief, the grieving of the person you once were to become who you are step by step along the way until now?
So I'm a guy, and we like to just shove everything down and deal with it later.
That's
So
me too.
yeah, I I didn't grieve until about a year and a half to 2 years after my dad passed, and that's the grief of him passing, and like you're saying, my old identity. I lost the life that I was living.
Yeah.
It wasn't the same. Like that company and what we did as a family, that was who I was. And like you, on the outside, everything looked great. I was making good money. I have a nice house, nice vehicles, all that. But it wasn't that great. And how I dealt with it, honestly, is just self-development. That's what got me through everything. So, like that podcast I mentioned,
Mm.
I would listen to that podcast all day long, just to try to understand what I was going through. Because that's another thing is you're confused. You don't know what's happening because you don't know what you don't know, and it's like you gotta read books and listen to podcasts and hire a coach to help you figure out what you're going through, and then help you figure out how to get through it. You know, it's like you're not gonna get over a lot of things, but you can figure out how to get through them and, move to the next step.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes in many of those occasions, all you can really do is just, move it, just take that one tiny, tiny little step, but at least you're
Yep.
still moving forward, even if
Yep.
it feels like all you want to do is just fall backwards to the beginning.
Yep. Exactly. I agree.
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
agree.
I get that.
Now, okay, so I love that we went down that rabbit hole. That was awesome. But I do want to talk more about your business and how you help people. So, if you can give the audience a quick little rundown of exactly how you can help them, that would be incredible.
Okay. So with the people I work with, I want you to imagine we're talking about, similar to what we had talked about, how both of us, we were in situations where on the outside, it looked great. Like
Yep.
we had it all together, but the inside was just falling apart at the seams, falling to pieces. So I work with corporate professionals and business professionals who on the outside look like they have it all together, but on the inside, they're actually falling apart. And so basically they are feeling disconnected from their families, disconnected from people at work. They are experiencing chronic fatigue. These are the people that sometimes wake up at 3, 4 a.m. in the morning and think, man, either what am I doing with my life or I don't know how am I going to hold it together. And this is the kind of thing where it's not something that a holiday can fix. Because you go on holiday for a week or two and you come back, you're still going to come back to the same problem. And it's
Yep.
not something that biohacking is going to fix. It's not something that sleeping more is going to fix, or, going to spending more time on hobbies is going to fix. It's none of that. It's energetic burnout. So the work that I do is I basically work with my clients. The way I do it is we identify what are the internal blocks that are actually draining their energy. Sometimes it could be these underlying beliefs, or that are incongruent with your values, or underlying beliefs that prevent them from advancing forward. So if deep down there is this underlying belief that you are not enough, or deep down there's this underlying belief that it is that it is not safe to make money, then it doesn't matter how much you optimize your day, schedule your day, pomodoro your way into productivity. It's going to be an endless uphill battle, because you are not able to be who you want to be. But when you
Yeah.
clear that out, so let's just use the money thing for an example. If we head into one of your energy centers and clear to the relevant energy center, and actually clear out that belief and install new beliefs that, oh, actually, like, money is my birthright, then money is who you be. Then everything that you do, you have this belief that everything that you touch, whatever you do, is going to lead to money. It's going to turn to gold. Then when your vibration and frequency is that, then all the right opportunities are going to come to you. Because I fully do believe in the law of resonance, which is that basically like versus like. So if your frequency is a match to something, that something could be good or bad, it will come into your life. And so that's the kind of work that I do. And through shifting all the internal blocks, eventually you're able to achieve a state of wholeness, and you're able to be more of who you are. So the good thing about being more of who you are is you get all of the things that your soul desires. But the drawback, the drawback to getting all of your soul desires is that sometimes everything that you've built from the previous state of consciousness might have to fall away.
Hmm.
Friends might fall
Definitely.
away.
Hmm.
Businesses might fall away. The way you do things, the way you operate as a human is not going to be the same. And that means that all that is not in resonance with who you are now will have to fall away. And so then it will come to a point of, are you willing to let go, to
Hmm.
let in?
Yep. And I feel like that part of having to let go, that can be very difficult.
Yes.
Do you have any tips on how to work through that? Because I've gone through it myself. I'm on this journey to build the life that I want, and
Mm,
there's certain people and things that don't align with my goal, and I have to limit my exposure to them because,
yes.
well, whether they're trying to or not, they can bring me down, and
Mm,
I can't
mm,
have that.
yes.
So yeah, do you
I,
have any tips for people that are kind of going through that?
I would say, if I can draw from personal experience, I
That's
think
the
that,
best thing to drop from.
yes,
Mhm.
I guess when it comes to personal experience, I will kind of look at, well, first and foremost, I have to come to a point of acceptance that, okay, am I able to see objectively, to the best of my ability, see that that I am no longer in alignment with this thing, whether it's with this business, with this person, with this kinds of situation. I think lots of people, when they're going through this, it's hard to come to a point of acceptance, because they will go through, oh, what if it's this? What if it's that? What, maybe if I do things a different way, maybe I can try and keep this, this, the
Yep,
bargaining, right?
I've been there.
Yeah.
I still do it all the time, way too much.
I know,
Yep.
and I get it. And it's human, because we received so much from that person, that situation, that business. Up until that point, your foundation, the reason you are able to even get to that point, was probably because of that person, that situation, that something, right?
Yep.
And so there's a part of us that's like, I wouldn't be here now without this person. But now, if I'm going in this particular direction and this person or this business or this situation cannot come with me, I need to first accept that I can't, that I'm gonna have to do this alone, that I can't take them with me, because we respect everyone's sovereignty, right? So first is the acceptance. And secondly, it's the crying.
Oh
The-
yeah,
yeah.
that's for sure.
Secondly, it's the crying. It's allowing your decision to finally settle in that, okay, I can't take this person with me. I don't want to be in this situation anymore. You finally decided that this is what I'm going to do moving forward. So that process can take a while. That could, and I highly recommend that during this process, you seek out support, not just in solitude, but also support in the people who are coming with you. That could be your friends, your family, whatever. And for those people who don't have that support network, there's professional help that you can go to, or or a better option would be if you can find comfort in being in stillness and solitude. For me, that has always been really amazing,
Hmm.
to find
Yeah.
safety in who you are and yourself, and to be able to learn the resilience and learn how to hold yourself.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like that a lot because
Yeah.
if you can hold yourself, if you can take care of yourself, if you can help yourself first,
Yes.
everything's gonna be, be better.
Yes.
Because the less you have to rely on others for your happiness,
Mm.
the better off you are.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not to say that, we're not saying that don't have community, because,
Definitely
we're
no.
humans, we need
Community is
community.
everything.
Yes, it's
So
great to have community. It's great
yeah,
to have friends and family. But of course, there's the difference between having that and, as you said, Nick, is like to not to necessarily need to rely on them. It's great to have that as an option to depend on, but not
definitely.
necessarily fully dependent. You're still able
Yeah,
to work on yourself.
yeah,
So yeah, so acceptance, crying, and then after that, it's just, it's the actual act of letting go. How do you want to let go? Do you want to burn the bridge, or do you want to let go in a loving way? Do you want to can you have these tough conversations with them? And sometimes, depending on the situation, sometimes the more you rise, they will naturally evict themselves anyway.
yeah. They're
Yeah.
either gonna evict or rise with you.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
all there is.
Yes,
Yeah.
they will naturally leave your life. So, for example, the last job that I had, it's so interesting. The moment that I decided that I was going to leave law, 2 weeks later, my boss came into the office and saying, "Look, can we please have a conversation?" Da, 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 da. And then he said, "Look, the business is not doing well. And I think like we will need to make a redundancy." And I feel that with the skills that you have, with who you are as a person, I also don't know if law is for you. I And then he told me this story about his best friend who did law with him, but who is now a very famous franchiser, a franchise owner of a particular brand of coffee called Merlot coffee. And then I asked him, like, did your friend ever practice law? And my boss is like, he never practiced law. He barely passed law school. And, and then he was like, nah, I don't want to do this. I'm going to
Yeah,
Italy. And he's now a famous entrepreneur. And so
that's
he was like,
awesome.
yeah. So he was like, Andy, like, I think you have the most amazing personality and you're so great with the clients and everything. But I think I want to ask you to just potentially give yourself a chance to explore what else might be out there. And that conversation, I really needed to hear that conversation at that time. I never expected that my boss would be the one to give me that step. And I don't think to this day he even understands how pivotal that conversation was for me, because I was so scared to leave law.
Definitely. And I actually have something that makes your story resonate with me a lot.
Yes. Yes.
And I didn't think of it until I I would say just like 4 months ago, if that,
Yeah.
maybe 3. But my dad, he started our our business, and he was always trying to keep me out of the business. He didn't want me to work there. He didn't want me to take control. That is not what he wanted because he
Okay.
always said, "You can do better than this." And I fought with him for like the first 6 years until he finally was like, "All right, fine, you can come, you know, be the supervisor, whatever." But like now looking back, it's like he could see something in me that I couldn't see myself.
Yeah.
That is why he didn't want me. It was the same for my sister. He didn't want us to be that involved in in the family business because
Mm.
he wanted us to figure out who we are, figure out what we want to do, and live the life that we want, not the life that he created just because he started a business. Yeah, I look back on that a lot now since I figured that out. It's, wow, and he still sends me signs all the time on like what decision to make. It's incredible. He's always
Wow.
with me, and he's actually in that little tiny urn up there. So he's always looking over me. But yeah,
Nick, your dad, he's an incredible influence. Not many people have dads as wise as that and
he
as
was
supportive as that and as visionary as he is.
yeah, he was just amazing.
Yeah.
It's like his death was obviously the hardest day of my life, but it was also a blessing because if he wouldn't have passed, I wouldn't be where I'm at now. I wouldn't be on the journey I'm on now. So I always try to look at the good in every situation because
Yes,
I truly believe everything happens for a reason. And, now I have a reason to push even harder. And that's for my dad. You know,
absolutely.
I'm
That is so
still
beautiful.
looking to make my dad proud, and I will. You know?
Nick, you were already making your dad proud the moment you were born. You
Thank
know
him.
this, right? Like
Yeah.
you I think you know this. Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so now I think it's just a matter of you're doing what you're doing, like not just to make him prouder,
Yeah.
but to make yourself proud, to make your
Yeah.
inner child proud. Yeah. And
Definitely.
that's really beautiful, Nick. That's really, really it's really, really beautiful. And it also gives us, when you were sharing that about his passing being the hardest time of your life, it also gives us that perspective of how grief isn't just sorrow.
Mhm.
Like grief
Yeah.
can be really, really beautiful if you can see the higher purpose of that grief. Because feeling so much grief and feeling so much sorrow, it, how would I say, it is a sign of a life filled with love, a relationship or dynamic filled with so much love, so much having a sign that so much has been invested in that. And sometimes, even though we can never determine when, how or why certain people leave us at the time that they do, but there is always divinity in that timing, and that it is always a position where you can use. I don't want to say use, but it's a position that, and utilize is probably a worse word. Okay, let's say use. It's a position that you can use if you can see it as such, to leap from into a better place, into a more evolved place, if you can see it that way.
I agree. And then, hey, that vision that you're talking about, a lot of times that's not going to happen for a while. I mean, it took me like 3 years before I seen it. You know, I just went and worked for another company, and I was just doing that. But like I said, I felt like something was missing. I felt like there was more. I felt like my dad was yelling at me, telling me to get my shit together and do my own thing. So yeah, it's weird how everything happens, but I love where I'm at. I love the journey I'm on.
It's a beautiful journey. And I love that we get to share a bit of our journey, like, yeah,
Yeah,
together right now.
me
I
too.
don't know. I just want to take a moment to say that this moment is really precious, for me because, um, like, to have this casual discussion, but also have it be really deep and meaningful as well. Because, I go on podcasts and I talk about career transitions, but there's only so much you can talk about when it comes to career transitions. But this one has been extra meaningful. And I know that, going deeper on topics that I don't normally go deep on because it just never went there, And and I think even if it did go there, I probably wouldn't have had the maturity a year ago to really address it.
Yep.
So yeah, so this has been really great. Like, thank you, Nick.
Well, I love that you enjoyed it, and I'm a speaker, I'm a podcaster, and I'm a businesswoman. So I know the power of telling your story because your story is what connects your audience to you as a human. And that's what they want to hear. They want to hear your stories that they can relate to. That's how you gain their trust, and then that's how they will eventually work with you in the future.
Absolutely, absolutely. And like, and I can, when you're talking, I can see the years of experience working in your father's business. Like, I can literally see it, and it's just like, yeah, this is his gig.
Yeah, there
This
was
is his gig.
a lot to learn. I can tell you that. And the biggest thing that I had to learn was how to work with people, how to communicate. Because when I first got the job title supervisor, I'll be honest, it went to my head. I was like, I'm the big bad boss now. You gotta do what I say, and that is the worst way to be a boss.
Hmm.
I quickly found out the best way is to not look at yourself as higher up than anybody else. Let's work as a team. As a
Yes,
team, let's make sure we get things done. I'm just the one that keeps track of everything to make sure it gets delegated to the right people, but
yes,
we all work as a team. And I took that into the next company that I worked at, and it really improved everything. So that's the best thing that I learned is just, you know, be a team player. Don't be a boss.
yeah,
Nobody likes a boss. Just be a good role model.
yes, yes. And like, maybe, and with the work that you do, with the way that you are, you know, being a team leader, and I guess because your title would give you a hierarchy, I guess, of boss. Maybe it's time to redefine what a boss really means. And I think with the work that you're doing, on the work that you have done, you have redefined what it means to be a boss, because a boss can be a boss, but it doesn't mean that he's a leader. Like,
Exactly.
how can a leader be a leader when there is no one to lead or no one who wants to follow them, right? There's such a
Exactly.
huge
Yep.
difference.
There is huge, and that was the hardest thing, the best thing that I had to learn. And I did lose employees because of that, and they're good people. It was a very hard thing to go through, but in the end, the team that I led for 4 or 5 years, like we still talk, like
Yeah,
so it's like we became like a
friends.
family. We just always spoke to each other. We all wanted to work together and just help each other out. So,
Oh, that's
all right.
beautiful.
Well, before we wrap this up, I we gotta make sure the audience knows where to find you and how to work with you.
Okay, if you want to come and find me, you can go to my website, www.andreafung.com, or you go onto my LinkedIn. I think it's Andrea Fung as well, or my Instagram. It's at the Andrea Fung. I think I would have given you my social links. So you
Yeah,
like, yeah.
I just always like to say it for the people that are driving in the car. They can just remember that. So,
Yes, yes.
and then I gotta ask you the same question that I ask every guest, and that is, my slogan is, your abilities are infinite. What does that mean to you?
It means to me that there is so much of who you are to explore if you're willing to courageously take that first step to follow your joy.
That is such a powerful statement, and the best way to end the episode. Andrea, thank you so much for being out here. This was really like one of the best podcasts I've done in a while. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Nick. This is definitely one of the best I've done in a while. So it was filled with depth and meaning, and I really treasure this time. I said it before, but I want to say it again. I really treasure it. Thank you so much for having me on.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad. All right, we will talk soon.
Talk soon.
If you enjoyed this show, please go ahead and share it on your Instagram story and tag me in it, the Nick Yerhart. Also, go ahead and share it anywhere else that you see fit, because the only way that I can grow this is by you guys sharing it. I don't sell anything on here. I don't have any sponsors, so let's just get it out there by word of mouth and help more people. Alright, everyone, remember, your abilities are infinite.